Hello, everybody, again. It is Ringside Rewind Time, episode 3. I am your co host, Andre, alongside with my other co host, Matt. Matt, go ahead and say hello to the good people of our podcast.
What's up, Pro Wrestling World? Thank you for joining us on episode 3 of the Ringside Rewind. We appreciate the support from the last 2 episodes, and we look forward to discussing the world of professional wrestling week 3.
Yeah, it's been an awesome journey so far. Been doing 2 weeks of this, and we got to say that we are loving the support and the new follows we're getting every day, the new engagement we're getting every day. So we really do appreciate the fact that you guys are taking time out of your guys' day to just watch us, listen to us, whatever it
Yes,
may
thank you.
be. Thank you. So let's go dive straight into it. We've got a lot of stuff to discuss here this past week. A lot of wrestling had happened. Obviously, Monday Night Raw, action on Monday Night Raw, NXT. And then we're also going to talk about TNA as well. TNA just
Yes.
debuted on AMC as of last night. And obviously, what just happened tonight on Friday, Friday Night Smackdown. So we're going to go obviously in chronological order and go from there. But first and foremost, let's go ahead and start with Monday Night Raw. So obviously, we started off Monday Night Raw with a segment. Well, first and foremost, what I really want to talk about is actually going to be coming up next Monday.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the CM Punk versus Finn Balor match. And I got to say, I'm quite excited for this match, Matt. This is one that I've been looking forward to. You know, I'm a big Finn fan. So you know that I'm excited that I'm going to be able to see him in action for a world title against CM Punk in Belfast, Ireland. Matt,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on this match?
You know what? I love the setup. I thought it was phenomenal how CM Punk's in the ring. He's doing his thing, best on the mic. Next to John Cena, CM Punk's probably one of the best on the mic. Comes on out, and here's Finn Balor trying to prove a point, right? And I thought that the setup is really great. I think being in Finn's home country of Ireland, it's going to be phenomenal to see. I was thinking that, a few months ago, CM Punk mentioned Finn Balor as one of the guys he wanted to face. And it's funny how the storytelling repeats itself, right? CM Punk called out Finn Balor, made fun of him about playing video games in the back, called him out for shining Liv Morgan shoes. I thought that was really funny and a good jab on Finn. But you never know. Finn Balor was the first Universal Champion. Didn't have much when he went out with an injury the day after. So I'm actually looking forward to this match too. I think it's going to be a really classic wrestling match. Finn did guarantee that JD will not be there. We know JD is injured. He also guaranteed that Dominic will not be there. So it's going to be interesting to see. And I know that we were talking before, but you mentioned something about the demon Finn Balor.
Yes, there has been lots of hints of him possibly going back to that persona. And I am a big Finn Balor fan. I'm a big Demon Finn Balor fan. So the thing is with the Demon, obviously I love the artwork, the body paint, the
Yeah.
entrance, everything, the music, you know what I'm saying? If here's the thing.
They said it
If
takes
he
3
comes
hours to
back,
create that makeup.
listen, 3 hours is well worth it because of the presentation. I feel like that's a one thing that I think in this era of wrestling that we kind of lack in. Okay. I'm gonna go a little bit on a tangent here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I see a lot more wrestlers coming out nowadays with their own merch and in sweats. Not that I have a problem with that. Obviously, we're in a different era, but kind of going back to my old head roots here. Back in the Vince era, we saw wrestlers dress up, obviously a lot more presentable, when it came down to the segments, that they had. One segment that I can, clearly just picture in my mind, Batista coming out in that all white turtleneck. You remember that when he was world
I do.
champion?
Yes.
That alone sticks out. Evolution. Come on now. They were always dressed up,
Now you're going back
So
20 years.
hey, listen, I feel like this is something that they should bring back. If I'm gonna be a person that when it comes down to presentation is everything, right? To
Yeah, it
me.
is. That's true.
So going back to the whole Finn Balor thing, I don't want to go too far in the deep end, but going back to the Finn Balor thing, I really hope that he does bring back the persona. He did talk about it on Cody's podcast about bringing it back. He wants to bring it back. The fact is, though, if you had listened to that podcast, watched that podcast when he was
I
with
did. I
Cody,
watched the entire thing.
he
It was
talked
good.
about how he just thought that the way that WWE handled it wasn't to his liking. And NXT had a lot more freedom, obviously. Now, when it came down to the main roster, you know, it wasn't there. And I really do hope that he gets another shot at it and that he has a dominant run like he did in NXT because he's such a talented wrestler. And for his age, he deserves to be world champion again, in my opinion. I'm a huge Finn Balor fan. I really hope he brings us back. I know it's a long shot, but I'm really hoping that this could be a surprise. So
It would be a definite shocker. It would definitely be the words of the greatest of all time, clickbait. It would be something to see. I don't think Finn Balor is winning the title on Monday night in Ireland. I do think CM Punk's going to retain that. However, I do think those two men are going to put on a hell of a wrestling match. And one last thing to add to that, correct me if I'm wrong, the last time we saw the Demon was at WrestleMania 39, and I want to say it was a Hell in the Cell match against Edge. I could be wrong, but I think that's the last
correct.
time we saw him in that persona. And it's funny because Edge formed the Judgment Day, right, and brought Finn in. So I don't know what's going to happen. I do think that CM Punk retains the title on Monday night, but I think they're going to put on a hell of a match.
Oh, we know CM Punk's going to retain for sure. But regardless, I'm just glad he's able to get in that main event spotlight with CM Punk and share the ring with him
In
and
his home
whatnot.
country of Ireland.
In his home country, yes, absolutely. So the next thing I want to move on to is Liv and Roxanne. They're the new number one contenders for the women's tag titles at Saturday night's main event. Obviously, winning that match. What are your thoughts on that? On them being number one contenders?
Predictable. That was the first thing I thought when I saw it. Very, very predictable. I don't know, Andre. I think we're seeing the Judgment Day kind of crumbling before our eyes and then probably come back together. You know, we have Raquel over there feuding with
Stephanie Vaquer.
Stephanie Vaquer, taking her out, knocking her out the last 2 weeks, attacking her injured leg. I don't know if the leg is kayfabe. I don't know if she's really out with an injury. They haven't said anything. Somehow she keeps walking perfectly until she has that boot on. But I think we're seeing the Judgment Day kind of crumble before our eyes. I'm going to make a strong prediction. I don't think they win those titles at Saturday night's main event. And I believe we see a different side of Liv Morgan. I think Liv goes after Roxanne, and it's going to set up for the Royal Rumble, which is the following week in Saudi. I don't want to jump too far ahead on the Royal Rumble because I want to hold my picks until we have our talk about the Royal Rumble. But I think Saturday night's main event with that tag match is going to lead into the Women's Royal Rumble, with Liv playing a big part of it.
I agree. I think what we're seeing with the Judgment Day is that they're all kind of realizing that they have their own separate goals. And here's the thing, right? I'm a little bit of a stickler when it comes down to this, but the fact that Judgment Day is always constantly together, look, not that I don't mind. I think it's good that you have consistency, that you're always showcasing those members of the faction and them growing. Obviously, Raquel feuding with Stephanie Vaquer as Stephanie's the world champ and her, putting her in that main event spotlight. But I think it's also okay. You know, you can still be in a faction, right? But you can also still have your personal goals, you know?
True,
And
but it's dragging on. The Judgment Day has
it
been
is.
around for
And
quite some
obviously, we
time.
thought multiple times throughout the last year, 2 years, you know, it was going to fall apart, you know, especially when Damian Rhea got the boot, right? You know, we thought shortly after it was going to be, oh, well, this could
And
be the
when Liv
very
went
end of
out
it.
with an injury, I thought it was going to be something where we saw a different side of it. You know, with the one thing great about that was how the match at Survivor Series with John Cena, with the return of Liv Morgan. You
Mhm.
know, and then we thought maybe something was going to happen with Dom and Roxanne. If you remember, Finn was kind of teasing Roxanne and Dom being together now that Liv's out, but we never saw a kind of storyline on that. So I was a fan of the Judgment Day. Still am a fan of the Judgment Day. We got Dom and JD out with an injury. These two ladies, like I said, I think it's going to be fireworks at Saturday night's main event, but I think there's going to be some shenanigans in that, and I think Liv's the reason they don't win the titles. That's my prediction.
Yeah, and obviously, we've seen Liv as tag champ. We've seen Liv as world champ. I think, this is obviously Liv's revenge tour part two. So I think we're gonna see different side of Liv. We're gonna see a more ruthless Liv. Obviously, she had a good run as world champ. You
Loved it.
know, so I'm very interested to see what is to come of her, and especially Roxanne as well. Obviously, Roxanne being the newest member of the group and whatnot, getting called up from NXT. So yeah,
And they
I
haven't
can't wait to
really
see what
told us
she.
anything about a match with Raquel and Stephanie Valkyr. So they just had her get attacked the last 2 weeks, right? That's it.
Yeah, and quite honestly, obviously, it seems like they're going in the direction of, well, we've seen this before where the same person constantly attacks the world champ and eventually become world champ. And so who knows? I think it could be may it could happen, the fact that Raquel is going to be world champ. We just don't know
They
when.
and they just dropped Nikki Bella like a bad habit. All of a sudden, she was there. She was in the triple threat match, and then she was dropped.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think we knew that Nikki was just there to help get Stephanie over even more. In my honest opinion, I don't think it was needed that it needed
I
to be
don't think so
Nikki,
either.
but and in its own respect, obviously, I'm just glad that the older talent are able to help push the younger talent, help them get to that next level and whatnot. So the next thing I want to move on to is before we get to the main event of that night, which was obviously AJ Styles versus Gunther. I want to get to some of the Vision stuff. I know
Ooh, yes.
you were wanting to talk about this. So obviously Penta and Dragon Lee had that tag match between Bronson Reed and Austin Theory. That then spiraled. Obviously, Braun Breaker got involved in that match. Speared Penta, speared Dragon Lee, and then obviously had a verbal and somewhat physical altercation with Adam Pearce, to
Mhm.
which then
Yes.
obviously continued backstage, to where then Adam Pearce suspended indefinitely Braun Breaker. Matt, what is your take in all of this stuff happening? Somewhat, obviously, some part of this was predictable. Some part of this was okay. Like, obviously, we're going to hold off until Royal Rumble, right? Where do we go from here?
Andre, I've seen storylines like this in the past, from the Mr. McMahon days to the Authority days to the John Laurinaitis days, challenging the Authority. I loved every bit of it. First and foremost, I have to give props to Braun Breaker. That spear on Dragon Lee was phenomenal. Come out of nowhere, Dragon Lee gets up and boom, it was like a rocket that hit him and took him out. Oh my gosh. The fact that guy could do that, run down that ramp so quick, and the camera couldn't even catch him. He hit Dragon Lee. I love the story. I think that's the fireworks of Monday Night Raw. I'm excited for Monday Night Raw. Yes, I want to see CM Punk. Yes, I want to see Finn Balor. I'm excited for this. Both Adam Pearce, Paul Heyman, Austin Theory. I think I saw something from Braun Breaker and also Big Bronson Reed. Everybody in the Vision and Logan Paul has all been on social media all week talking about this. I love this story. I think it's going to be fireworks. I could see this going in so many ways. I could see Adam Pearce actually getting suspended or something happening to Adam Pearce. And then I could see Paul Heyman taking over Monday Night Raw. I could just see the storyline going down that direction. Somewhere Paul Heyman has something up his sleeve, right? And the storytelling of Paul Heyman. I saw something the other day. This man has been doing this for almost 40 years, telling stories. I watched something with The Undertaker, and they mentioned how we wouldn't have The Undertaker if it wasn't for Paul Heyman, who told Mark Calloway to come to WWE, when he was his manager at WCW. So Paul Heyman's been doing it for so long, but he just looked at Adam Pearce and said, I'm not worried about him. I'm worried about you. I mean, just the storytelling. And that's what hooks me as a pro wrestling fan. Not just the athleticism in the ring, but that storytelling of like, oh man, I got to wait till next week. And now in the world we live in with social media, they're telling the story all on social media. So I am so excited for Monday Night Raw. I cannot wait to see where this goes. I cannot wait. Maybe Triple H gets involved and comes out and suspends or says something to Adam Pearce, or but something's going to happen. Something's going to play out. It's going to be interesting. I think it goes past the Royal Rumble. I think this has WrestleMania implications. But I'm hooked, and I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays off in the next couple of weeks. Obviously, as we approach the Royal Rumble, what happens with that. I suspect that we don't see Braun Breaker until obviously Royal Rumble. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with the vision overall, what that vision is, no pun intended, with the whole faction, with Paul Heyman, what's going to happen with Braun Breaker. Does he actually end up spearing Adam Pearce? We don't know, but I'm very much looking forward to
And
what is
Adam
to come
Pearce
with them.
did touch him first. I mean, he did put his hands on him first.
Hey, listen,
So,
it's going to be interesting to see.
and
I'm going to have
remember,
my own take on it,
go ahead.
and a little bit opposite side of the fence. Okay, I think it's getting a little repetitive what's going on with them, and here's the reason why. I think obviously the biggest part of that, I think the biggest piece that, in my opinion, is missing from that is the fact that obviously the absence of Seth Rollins, right? I loved the faction of the Vision more when Seth Rollins was still in the picture. Obviously, it was unfortunate that he got injured and had to get taken out. Obviously, with him no longer being world champion, having to vacate that title, right? I think there could have been a different way for them to do it. Now that I think about it, because obviously at that time it was unexpected. Oh my God, you have Braun Breaker spear Seth Rollins, and now you
We
have
were all
Braun
caught off
Breaker.
guard.
Yes, then you have Braun Breaker recruit and make sure that Paul Heyman and Braun Strowman are on his side. I think there could have been a different way for him to go about it. I think it could have been somebody else. Punk obviously ended up winning it. I, I don't know. My point being is I think a lot of the stuff that is going right now is a little bit repetitive in my opinion. I'm not gonna lie, right?
Okay.
I think Braun Breaker is a great heel. I think he's got the makings of being a very ruthless heel, and I love that about him. And I'm glad he's finally getting his spot, to be part of the main event now. But I need, kind of like you, man. I need more. I need
I say it all
more.
the time. I need
Like
more.
I
Yeah.
need something to happen, right? I need something to happen sooner rather than later. Because here's the thing: you have the same formula, the same pattern happen every week with the Vision. It's going to get repetitive, and people are going to get bored out of it. I'm not going to lie. When I see the Vision on the screen, I'm like, okay, it's the Vision. Like, okay, what are we expecting? Who's he going to spear? All right,
No, I
like
get where you're coming from.
this is what we're expecting, right? But my point being, I need something. And now that we're in WrestleMania season, right? I'm hoping to add a few more spices into the pot, right? I you know, a jalapeno, right? And then all of a sudden a ghost pepper. I need something like that, man. I need something to keep that going and that momentum. Because here's the thing: whenever you have Paul Heyman involved in a storyline, you know that's going to be a great storyline because he's such a great storyteller, right?
40 years. Yeah. I mean, it's
Him,
insane.
remember, he got power bombed through a table by Solo Sikoa at Madison Square Garden last
I
year,
do.
right?
Yep.
So I need something like that to
His face
happen.
told the story just going through the
Yes.
table.
I need something like that to happen to keep this vision fresh. I need this storyline. And here's the thing: it's got the perfect makings of it being a great storyline, but they need to keep it fresh. And here's the thing: maybe you don't have them always appear every Monday night. I don't know what it is, but I feel like if you always have them on TV, which obviously you want to, but you also want to make it special for each and every time. Obviously, we're going to do that more. Hopefully, whatever Triple H is cooking, I'm sure he's got something up his sleeve, but that's just my take on
Long-term
it.
storytelling, bro, at its best.
It is. It
And I
is.
think that's what the Oracle is good at. I think that's why he was the wise man. I think that's why he's Paul Heyman. I mean, he, like I said, 40 years of just building talent, building superstars. 40 years is insane. He's a Hall of Famer. He's managed so many people. Some of the greatest names have worked and been with Paul Heyman. I mean, we're going back to the ECW days, Tommy Dreamer, the Dudley Boys, the Sandman, Stone Cold, all of them have some kind of ties. The Undertaker, I mentioned earlier, has ties to Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, all the greats, Seth Rollins. I think this story is going to be phenomenal. I'm hooked. I'm going to stay watching. I'm looking forward to what they do with Braun Breaker. Mark my words. I said this in episode 1, and I'll repeat it all the time. I think by the time we get to the end of 2026, we're going to be cheering Braun Breaker as a babyface. And I don't know if he has a title around his waist by December of this year. I do know that he's going to have, he's going to be the dog, right? The bad dog in the ring. And that's Braun Breaker. I think he's going to carry Raw.
Well, I'm going to hold you to that, if we end up all cheering him and whatnot. So moving on, last but not least, for Monday night was the AJ Styles versus Gunther match. I was very much looking forward to this match because two of the best technical wrestlers you have in the company today face off against each other for the first time. In that match, I loved it. Obviously, we had Gunther do the little fake tap out. Obviously, AJ confronts the ref saying he tapped out. He tapped out.
Yeah.
Ref doesn't see it. Gunther then low blows AJ, power bombs him for the win. Thoughts?
Typical heel. That's a typical heel move. I didn't see it coming like that. I think we talked last week on episode 2. We mentioned something about I thought Gunther was going to go over on the Phenomenal One. I didn't like the ending. And a lot of people that I've spoken to and I follow didn't like the ending as well. I think everybody had the same idea about AJ losing. I didn't like the ending, but when you look back and see it, it was a typical heel move to really plant Gunther as that not only heelish guy, but also the guy that would do anything, right? So he didn't win clean. The ref got it wrong. The ref was not in position at all. And, I think they called it out afterwards. So didn't care for it. I'd like to see these two tangle up again with something else than just the regular, maybe do some kind of stipulation for the match, maybe make it a submissions match or something like that. I'd like to see that happen, but didn't care for it.
Yeah, I think it was a bit obviously lackluster, the ending. Kind of expected. But nonetheless, great match overall. I'm glad they were able to face off finally. But hopefully we see them face off against each other, but in a clean match, in a clean way, a clean ending.
Make it a submissions match.
Yeah, add a stipulation, make things
or I quit.
Yeah, very true.
Let's do something like that.
Moving on, I'm going to move on here briefly to NXT first, and then we'll move on to TNA. But NXT, the biggest takeaway, obviously, was the announcement of the 6-man ladder match for the vacated NXT title. Obviously, the week previously, we saw Obafemi win his match for the NXT title against Leon Slater of TNA. Obviously, we don't know where Obafemi is going to go yet. Obviously, Raw. I think we did see a vignette, obviously, on Raw
and SmackDown
as well. And so it'll be interesting to see what's to come. Like I said, I think the next time we see him is the Royal Rumble. But I'm definitely interested to see who's going to be the next NXT champ. I think it's going to be Ricky Saints again. So that's my take. Ricky Saints, I think, is going to be the next call up as soon as he's gone through his reign as NXT champ, has done everything that he could to, get prepared for the main roster. I think he's going to be the next NXT title holder.
I'm going to actually second that notion. I think Ricky Saints pulls this one out. He doesn't have to qualify. He's already moved into, he's one of the 6 without qualifying. Qualifying matches are already set for this Tuesday night on NXT on the CW, but Ricky Saint doesn't have to qualify. I actually am kind of disappointed that Ricky Saint did not get called up with Trick Williams. I did not make it up there with Javon Evans. Same thing with Ethan Page. Like I said, I've been kind of pushing him a little bit. I like his little attitude. I like, what he's been doing, but I think he's time to show it on the main roster. Just a little bit more down in NXT, I think, just to help push NXT to the next level. But I agree with you. I think Ricky Saint will be the new NXT champion come February 2nd, I believe.
Absolutely. Yep. The next thing I want to move on to is TNA. We saw the TNA debut on AMC. Um, a bit lackluster, not gonna lie. I've seen a lot of people online not really like the new debut. It was a 2 hour show, and there was only 3 matches on the card. Some highlights that I do want to point out was the fact that, well, one, I don't know if you remember, but Elena Black, aka Cora Jade, made her debut. Well, official debut on TNA. AJ Styles made an appearance. He did a little face off against Frank Kazarian. Glanced at the TNA title. I would really like to see AJ, considering this is going to be his final year, have a match again on TNA. And who knows, possibly become a short term TNA champion. Obviously, TNA, I like the fact that anything kind of goes. It's different, obviously, from WWE, but I like the fact that there's a little bit more freedom when it comes down to some of the storylines, and more unpredictability. So AJ Styles obviously made his appearance. And then Mike Santana won back his TNA championship from Frank Kazarian in the main event. Glad he's champion again. I like Mike Santana. We saw Mike Santana obviously make his some appearances on NXT. I do think it's a matter of time until he officially becomes a part of that NXT roster, and then hopefully down there in the future becomes a part of the main roster. So yeah, that's TNA for you. Moving on to SmackDown. Obviously, we had a very event-filled SmackDown. First thing that I want to go ahead and address was the segment involving Cody Rhodes and making his official entry to the Royal Rumble. Matt, my question to you is, does he win this Rumble again?
Andre, I'm going to be honest with you. Cody Rhodes tonight on SmackDown had a 50-50 crowd there in London. It was booing him and cheering him. We said back on episode 1, what if Cody went heel? And then we said it again last week during the 3 Stages of Hell match. What if Cody, all the Cody crybabies out there, what if Cody is changing? Tonight was a different Cody Rhodes. Okay. He was still pleasing to the crowd, but he was getting booed. And there was a 50-50. Actually, I'm going to go further. From what I heard, I thought maybe like a 60-40 crowd. And maybe because they were in London, they're still in Europe. It was pro Drew McIntyre. But Cody Rhodes is getting a different feeling there in that crowd. And I heard it. I saw it. I'm a Cody fan. But Royal Rumble, no. I don't want to see it. And I don't think the WWE Universe wants to see that. Cody Rhodes made some references to some of my childhood heroes, Shawn Michaels. He mentioned Hulk Hogan. He mentioned the great Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think you can't argue that those men could be on people's Mount Rushmore. Stone Cold's the only 3-time Royal Rumble winner. He won it in 97, won it in 98, won it in 2001. Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan won it twice. Cody Rhodes has won it twice. His comment was he wants to be a three-peater. And then he said there's no one else that has been the three-peater but one man. And he didn't name Stone Cold, but we all know who he was talking about. And he's the first guy to say, I'm declaring my entry into the Royal Rumble. Now, let me ask you this. Was he saying he was entering as number 1 or that he was just entering the Royal Rumble? So I was kind of confused on what he was telling me. So is he coming in as entry number 1? Because guess what? The Texas Rattlesnake did that. And so did Shawn Michaels. And so did Hulk Hogan. So I don't know what he was trying to say. I don't want to see Cody Rhodes win the Royal Rumble. I'm pushing for heel Cody. I'm pushing for a shocker like that.
The only way I want Cody to win the Royal Rumble is if he turns heel. That's it.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I don't want him to win the Rumble again. Unless that happens. Unless you have a shocker like that happen and him stop pandering to the fans. Okay. That's the only way.
Crybabies, man.
Other than that, I don't want him to win the Rumble at all. I think it needs to be somebody different. Obviously, there's a lot of people betting on Roman Reigns being the Royal Rumble winner. Gunther, obviously, why would you not put him in the conversation? Like I said, we're gonna have our Royal Rumble predictions, obviously,
And it's
prior
hard not to
to the
talk
event.
about it and think about it because we are only 2 weeks away from the Royal Rumble. We're 2 weeks away from Saudi, you
And
know?
mind you, this is the first official wrestler on the roster that has made their official entry to the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, because Drew McIntyre told him tonight, QB1, you don't get a rematch. You go to the back of the line. He actually said it was in that contract they signed. I just thought that was so funny. And, Drew McIntyre comes out and he's the hometown. Well, and yeah, I guess he's kind of the hometown hero out there in Europe. And that crowd was cheering him. He got bagpipes played him to the ring. It was great. He gets in the ring. He acknowledges the fact that he's the champion. Then he turns on the crowd and he starts clowning on the crowd. None of you cared about me. I told you Cody was this, this, this. Well, what's funny? Drew McIntyre, one thing you can't, whether you boo him or cheer him, he's not lying. And that's what I love about that character, So Drew McIntyre's got a road to climb. I said it last week. I'm going to stick with my guns. Drew McIntyre goes into WrestleMania as the champion. I strongly think Drew McIntyre goes into WrestleMania as our champion. And Cody Rhodes, like I said, I'm a fan of you. I still am. Get to the back of the line.
I agree. And I think it's time that Cody goes without a championship. I think he's done well enough and he built himself well enough within the last few years since he came back to WWE that he can go without the championship. He doesn't need it anymore. Obviously it's time for Drew. I'm glad Drew's champion. I hope he has a long reign because we've
100%
seen
agree.
the work that he does,
Love
especially as a heel.
Love
He
it.
can talk on the microphone all day and keep it interesting, just like CM Punk, except CM Punk's obviously the baby face. Drew's the heel. Drew's essentially the same person, except, like I said, heel, phenomenal wrestler, phenomenal on the mic, and he can carry any storyline.
He mentioned that tonight. He talked about CM Punk. Hey, when I, been that back in the Hell in the Cell when CM Punk and I met, went at it. You guys all booed me, and I was telling you the truth then. So I'm looking forward to a healthy and a very successful reign from Drew McIntyre. And like I said, Cody, if you could do it, you could go up there and try to be a 3-timer like Stone Cold. Let's see it. But I want to heel Cody Rhodes. I want to be able to boo him and boo him as a Cody Rhodes fan. And I think pro wrestling people know what I'm talking about. You could boo, you boo them because you love what they do.
Absolutely. And so, speaking of Drew, obviously we saw him face off against Randy, and obviously there after that, Jacob Fatu.
Yeah.
So there's obviously some unfinished business there when it comes down to him and the potential feuds he's going to be having as champion. I can't wait to see him in action as champion. Him on the mic is, to me, one of the best things to witness. I'm glad I'm just glad we finally have something different for once and not have a title change happen over a big event like WrestleMania. This happened on a SmackDown.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we're finally, throwing some unpredictability there, obviously. So great to have him as champion. Moving on. Obviously we had Carmelo Hayes have his US Open challenge, and his answer to that challenge was Leon Slater of TNA.
Yeah.
That was a great match. Love seeing Leon Slater, especially on the main roster. I'm glad that he got a big pop as well. Obviously, he lost that match, but
21 years old to be doing what he's doing, just like Javon Evans. The fact that these young guys get a shot to go, the fact that they're on the European tour over there, just entertaining all the European fans and getting a pop. I'm happy for them. I think both those men are going to be in the Royal Rumble. I think they have a lot to show, have a lot to prove. But just the fact that him and Carmelo, it was a great match.
Absolutely, it was a great match, and I'm glad we got to see him. We got to see him again. And so after that, we obviously had the 4 matches that were in place for the number 1 contenders for the WWE Championship, and obviously the first one that I want to mention was Matt Cardona versus Trick Williams. We saw Trick Williams victorious in that match. We knew this was going to happen. We
Yes.
called it last week of him winning. Matt Cardona, great wrestler. Glad he's back in WWE, but kind of saw this coming. He wasn't going to be, obviously having a shot at Drew. Would I like to see him be in a title picture of like maybe a mid card? Absolutely. World champion, obviously, I don't
Not
think
yet.
that's going to be happening anytime soon. But I'm glad he was able to make his build back to WWE and at least get thrown into a contenders match. So that's something for sure. The next
And Trick
match,
won clean.
yes, and Trick
He
won
beat him
clean,
clean. Yeah.
and Trick got a huge pop.
Yes, he
Everybody
did.
chanting "Whoop that Trick" during his entrance.
And then afterwards too. So not only after he hit the trick shot and got the 1-2-3 on Matt Cardona, he got the pop at the end too. Big things, man. I'm shocked on Trick Williams.
Yeah, he's got big things lined up. That's for sure. We'll touch base with him again here, here soon. But the next thing I want to move on was the sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. Sami Zayn. He obviously won his match against Ilya Dragunov.
Yeah.
You called it. I got it wrong. I wanted Ilya to win, but what are your thoughts on Sami Zayn winning that match? Because I've got something to say about Sami Zayn.
Okay. Like I said last week, Sami Zayn has a lot to prove. He's one of the only ones in that picture that have not had a world title around his waist. I guess Trick Williams has won the NXT title and the TNA championship. So it's different between that and the WWE title or the World Heavyweight title. But Trick has been at the top in those brands. But Sami hasn't had that. And like I said, I think it's Sami Zayn's time to kind of show that he could be there, that he deserves to be there. I said that last week. I thought him and Ilya put on a hell of a wrestling match. It was great. It was fair. It was clean. There was no shenanigans. And then he beat him with the haluva kick, 1-2-3, and got the pin. So do I believe he needs to be in that fatal four-way match? Yeah, I do. Like I said last week, Sami's came up and paid his dues in NXT. He was there with Kevin Owens. He was there with Finn Balor. He was there with some of these names that have all worn the gold, but he never has. So I expect big things out of Sami Zayn. If he stays healthy, somehow he always gets hurt, he gets injured, then we forget about him, and then it just happens and Sami Zayn comes back, right? But if he stays healthy for 2026, I hope to see good things out of him. Do I think one time he deserves to host that title above his head? Of course. Now, whether or not that happens this time, I don't think that. But do I just think he deserves to be there? Yes.
Look, I've got my own opinion about Sami Zayn. All right. Respect him as a wrestler. Respect him as a person. I would have liked to see, obviously, Ilya win. I think Ilya is a great technical wrestler. He's aggressive. He's ruthless. Very, very hard-hitting wrestler. My gripe with Sami is that we've seen the same Sami for how many years now? Okay. So we saw him do the underdog story, obviously leading up to WrestleMania 40 against Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship, right?
And he beat
ended
him that reign.
And
of 666 days.
And that was huge, especially at that time, especially that Gunther had held it for 2 years, But my thing is that it's the same promo, right? I need something different, I think his gimmick right now is a little bit overplayed. Mind you, I get it. I totally get it. He's paid his respects, but
the
I'm
underdog
gonna be real,
story.
Man. I'm gonna be real. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of him being in that match. I would have seen Ilya in that match. Now, obviously, if Ilya was in that match, I think he was going to win that fatal four-way. Obviously, with Trick and Damian and no. Okay, I think Randy's going to win that match. We'll get to that here in just a second. But I would have loved to see, obviously, Ilya in that match. But no, obviously, you called it. I got it wrong. I'm a little salty, but anyways, moving forward to the next match, we had Damian Priest versus Solo Sikoa. Obviously, that match ended with some interference with Solo and the White Six.
Yeah,
Damian ends up winning that match. What are your thoughts on that match?
Well, I'll throw this one back at you. I called Solo last week. But I did mention that I thought the Wyatt Six were going to be, kind of scooping around ringside. It's all building up for, of course, Damian did not win clean because the Wyatt Six were involved, but it's all building up to having the MFTs and the Wyatt Six. I want this to be over with. Okay. You talk about dragging on a story. This is getting boring. Okay. Yes, it's a pop when the lights go out and the fireflies come on. I enjoy it. Yes, I understand that the lantern represents Bray Wyatt, represents the Fiend. That's his brother, right? Uncle Howdy. I totally get it. I totally get it. But the whole idea was they stole the lantern, get the lantern, take the lantern back. And that was the story, letting Damian Priest pick up the win. I want this to come to I want this to come to a quick conclusion. Hopefully by the Royal Rumble, this storyline is just done. And we do something different with the MFTs.
I agree. It's gotten to a point where it's just overplayed. And here's the thing: you
Yes,
could do long storytelling, right? There's not. I'm saying you can't, right?
but not with
There's
these
some
not with these
things.
groups.
Yeah, there's this. It comes to a point where it's just like, okay, it's the same stuff over and over every week, and I get it. Obviously, especially after a big event, like for example, War Games, or I get that after that you're kind of like in this weird time period where like you're leading up to the Royal Rumble, and it's like, okay, you really want things to kick off around after the Royal Rumble. Um, but yeah, I get it, but not everything needs to be long term story. Sometimes it could just be short, So
And you're right. And here's the thing about this is we've been talking about the Wyatt Six and the MFTs before Survivor Series. This thing was going on. And we've had tag matches, we've had four-way matches, we had the Survivor Series match on the Friday Night Smackdown before War Games. We had that. That was an elimination match, which I believe the MFTs lost that match to the Wyatt Six. So, I mean, it's just been dragging on and on. And, I'm not going to try to sound like a stickler or anything like that. I respect all those men. They've all have done something. I love their characters. I love their costumes. I love everything about them. I just want it to be over with. And hopefully it does come to an end very soon, because next week on SmackDown, we'll have the tag team titles match. So maybe the MFTs take it from the Wyatt Six and they get the lantern back. I don't know. I just want to see it come to an end. It's kind of sad that Solo kind of got screwed on that long term. I was wrong about that one. You had Damian Priest. You got it right. But hopefully, like I said, that storyline just maybe after next week with the tag titles on the line.
Agreed. So obviously we saw that Randy Orton obviously was the last but not least, but Randy Orton, we knew that he was going to win that match. Both of us, me and you, agree that obviously I think it's a good likelihood that Randy wins that fatal four-way at Saturday night's main event to become the number one contender. I think it's great to see Randy back in the main event picture. I would have liked to see him face off against Cody. I kind of wish we got that. I'm not going to lie.
It doesn't mean we still don't.
Very true, but I think it would have at least added a little bit, to see Cody as the champion face off against Randy. And in my hopes and dreams, Randy turned back to 2009, the Viper heel that we had.
He shaved his head.
He's bald now, but listen, that heel, he was the ultimate villain growing up. For me, seeing him every week, him feud with Triple H, obviously Triple H then storming into his house.
Loved it.
And
I remember
fighting
like
in his house. Oh my goodness. Him kissing Stephanie on the come on now.
Vintage Orton DDT and then bend it over, that look right in Triple H's eye as he was handcuffed.
I need punt kick. I need that punt kick back. I need punt kick Randy Orton back.
He's the only one that punt kicked Mr. McMahon in the head.
Yep.
Fought Shane O'Mac. No, Randy Orton, gotta love him as the Viper. Gotta love him as the legend killer, Randy Orton, 14-time heavyweight champion. The Miz caught him off guard as he was kind of, bickering with Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre. The Miz caught him off guard and hit him with a skull-crushing finale before the match started. And then they went at it, had their thing, and then the Miz hit him again with a skull-crushing finale, and Orton was able to kick out of it, and ended up hitting the RKO for the 3 count. But I think the Fatal 4-Way is kind of predictable. Doesn't mean we don't see Orton and Cody Rhodes. There is so much to talk as we're almost there. We're 2 weeks away to the Rumble, and then that officially kicks off the road to WrestleMania. But I feel we're in WrestleMania season right now because there's so many storylines, so much stuff that could be told. I got stuff just going through my head. What if Orton does win this Fatal 4-Way and goes against Drew? And what if Cody screws him in Saudi?
I was thinking about
what
that
if
as well?
Yeah, that's who cost Randy Orton. What if Randy Orton goes in as the babyface to WrestleMania? And now Orton's screwed because he can't be in the Rumble because he won the Fatal 4-Way. Got screwed by Cody Rhodes out of anybody to screw him. The student screws the teacher years later. I think a lot of us as fans want to see that. We want to see Orton. We want to see Rhodes. And then a lot of people want to see want to see Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns again, our tribal chief. I don't want to see that. I would rather see Orton and Rhodes. And I don't need a title on the line. I think you could tell that story all the way to WrestleMania as the teacher and the student. And I just would be hooked. Every SmackDown, I'd be like, oh, wow, this is getting better. And I think there's a lot of hidden stories that they could tell. Drew brought in everything about the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, to make that storyline with Cody. The watch, the burning of the picture. Picture what Randy could tell us about Dusty Rhodes in that storyline. It'll be good.
And especially, obviously, as Randy was the teacher at that time for Cody. And
yes.
Obviously, we saw segments
for
with
Legacy,
Cody and Dusty. And obviously, that Legacy group between him, Randy, and obviously Ted DiBiase Jr. I'd say we would bring him back, but he's got some court stuff going on. So obviously, we're not going to see him anytime soon. But my
never
point
say never in pro wrestling, bro.
I don't know about this one. I'm going to tell you those right now. But my point being, yes, we would love to see that match. I know for a fact I would love to see that match. That would be a nostalgia trip for sure.
And you don't need a title. You don't need anything.
No, like absolutely not. And that's the thing. I feel like the formula for right now for WWE is, in order for it to be relevant, it needs to have a title or something along with it. No, you don't need that. We saw how that happened with the best one that sticks out to me in most recent memory was the CM Punk and Drew McIntyre feud. That feud all year long was entertaining, and it ended at Bad Blood with that match, Hell in a Cell. So, yeah. That's all I got to say
about that Hell in a Cell, and I don't want to kind of go on a soapbox about that, but I will say, next to Undertaker and Mankind at King of the Ring 98, where Mick Foley, Mankind got tossed off the cell, to where the first time any of us has ever seen that in pro wrestling, I remember as a sophomore in high school, like, oh my God, is he really dead? Getting choke slammed through the cell. That match with Drew and CM Punk at Bad Blood, that Hell in the Cell was phenomenal. Remember the bracelet with the dog's name and AJ's bracelet? And it's just great storytelling. We don't need a title. I'd love to see Cody and Randy Orton hit it on at WrestleMania in Vegas. That'd be interesting. We'll see where that plays out. But I think Randy Orton's got a good shot.
Absolutely. So obviously we're going to wrap up here pretty soon. Obviously we have a little bit of preview of what's to come on Monday. Obviously, like we mentioned earlier, Finn Balor versus CM Punk in Belfast, Ireland. And then on top of that too, Becky Lynch versus Maxine Dupree for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Matt, I'm tired of this. We'll be completely straightforward with you. We saw this go back and forth. Like, we just had a title match between the two, right? Why are we doing this again? I think it's time that if we're going to have Becky as champion, at least for up until WrestleMania, she feuds with somebody else. But it's just too much going back and forth. We're seeing this a lot lately. I'm not a fan of it. It makes for boring entertainment, boring television. In my opinion, I could care less about this match. I love the two. Don't get me wrong. I'm a Becky Lynch fan, but this to me just does nothing because there's a 99% chance that she retains.
Yes.
So, and if that doesn't happen, let me know. I don't know. I'll quit watching wrestling. I'm not going to do that. But Yeah, she's gonna retain.
Never say
So
never, bro. Okay,
very
here's
true.
my take on this. I 100% agree with you. I think it's getting a little bit played out. There was a different side to Maxine Dupree. If you saw, she had a different kind of facial look to her too. There was something different about her when she was in backstage being interviewed with the Alpha Academy. That's another thing I want to touch on real quick. But I am just so kind of done with this. I think if we're gonna have Becky Lynch be the bad girl, be the bad person, to be the heel, and nothing against Maxine Dupree, I'm happy for her success. I'm happy the fact that she won it. I'm happy the fact that she is evolving, and I love that. Keep that ruthless aggression, keep evolving. But I think let's move on. We're going into the WrestleMania season. Let's see something different. But for the people of Belfast, Ireland, that's Becky Lynch is their home girl. So it's going to be interesting to see, the pop she's going to get, as well as they're probably going to put on a good match. But as you and I both know, it's going to end in some kind of shenanigans.
Yeah. Like I said, I think this was just a match that was made obviously for obviously Becky Lynch, for to have some sort of uh stipulation, to fight in her home country. And so it'll be good nonetheless. But I do see Becky Lynch winning and retaining that title once again against Maxine Dupree. So as we wrap up, Matt, looking forward to obviously episode 4. We've got a lot of things to discuss as we lead up into the Royal Rumble. I can't wait for that. Obviously, who knows what's gonna happen? Who's gonna be coming back? Who's gonna be returning? What new celebrities could be possibly involved? Obviously, last we saw Speed get involved as entry number 8 and get speared by Braun Breaker, and so
That was good.
I think we'll probably see something similar to that this
You never
year
know.
again.
We could be breaking the walls down.
Very true, and that's something we have to discuss for that podcast episode leading up to it. We can't discuss it yet, Matt, but
No, I
we're
know.
getting there. We're getting there. I'm excited though. So nonetheless, obviously, Ringside, a Rewind podcast. This is your co-host Andre. Matt, you have any final words before we sign off here?
No, it's just been we're in that season, guys, and we just ask that you follow us, like us, give us some ideas, give us some shout outs. We appreciate you. We do this because we love it, and we appreciate the support and the love that you show back to us. We just love talking about professional wrestling. We just love this time of year is our Super Bowl season, and we are on the road to WrestleMania. It's WrestleMania season. You could feel it on Raw. You could feel it on SmackDown. So I look forward to the upcoming weeks.
Absolutely. And I do as well. Thank you guys again for watching and tuning in wherever you're watching or listening listening to us, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Thank you guys again for the support and for the engagement you guys have been giving us, the comments and whatnot. Thank you guys. We appreciate it. And we look forward to doing this again next week here on Ringside Rewind Podcast.
See you all next week, guys.